Bella Salon and Day Spa, located at 41 West Main Street in Northeast Pennsylvania, proudly supports Chautauqua Sunrise and its volunteers. More information at bellasalonanddayspa.net. Funding is provided by a grant from New York State Senator Catherine M. Young, representing Western New York's 57th District with a local office in Olean. Chautauqua Sunrise is made possible by a grant from Fredonia Place, a continuing care retirement community providing dignity in a modern luxury environment. From the Access Channel 5 studios in Mayville, it's Chautauqua Sunrise. Chautauqua Sunrise is hosted by Doc Hamels and supported by the award-winning volunteers at Access Channel 5. Continuing the traditions of Senior Report, we are here to share local news, colorful interviews, and events of interest to everyone. Chautauqua Sunrise is broadcast live Saturday mornings each week, countywide, from 9 to 10 a.m. Join us by calling in live, emailing us, or checking out our social media. And now, from the Channel 5 studios, it's Chautauqua Sunrise.
Oh, every time I see that ALS challenge and all that ice water, I just freeze over here. Good morning, everyone. I'm Doc Hamels, and welcome to Chautauqua Sunrise. This is a live call-in show. If it's the first time you're joining us, for those of you that join us every Saturday morning or throughout the week, good morning and welcome. Grab that coffee or hot chocolate or tea and pull up a chair and let's have a chat. And I've got a great guest here today, and we're going to talk about some real interesting things. She doesn't know it yet, but we're going to bring out some interesting points. Okay, wow. You know, I don't even know what to say about this week. You know, I have nothing exceptional to talk about the weather up in Buffalo and up in northern Chautauqua County, but it was a follow-up to what I was talking about last week when I was talking to folks. If this was your first time here in Buffalo and some things, Buffalo area, Chautauqua County area, that you know you need to take some precautions. And I was thinking about, well, what did we learn about this huge storm that came through? It's real simple. Is you know, being prepared and making sure you've got, you know, things in the house and even in your car. I was looking around the car the other day and I'm thinking, you know, if I was one of these folks, how would I have fared? And probably not very well. I didn't have a blanket in the truck. I have a car and a truck. I didn't have any food, no water, or anything like that. So I'm thinking, you know, maybe we should have some supplies in all our vehicles just in case. But also, you know, I talked to my niece. She lives in the Hamburg, Eden area, and they got really sucked in. And she was saying everything was fine till the power went out, and her phone was only half charged. And I go, oh boy, I can imagine that would be really panicky, having two little kids in the house, and now you're blocked in. Your husband's out working because he works for the highway department. The power goes out. That means it's getting cold. You don't have, your phone's going to wear out here soon. So I'm sure panic really took over with a lot of folks up there. You may not know this, but I'm actually from Buffalo originally, and I was trying in my best memories to think of anything that came close to this storm. And I remember one time getting up and my dad says, wow, we had quite a bit of snow, and the whole street was just like 3 feet of snow, just a sheet of snow all the way through. And my brother and I, we just went out with our shovels and eventually helped people get unstuck, and we went and shoveled the church stairs and all that sort of thing. But we managed. This is just totally different. So my hat's off to all my friends in Buffalo and relatives. We were all on the phone constantly throughout the week checking on my dad, and of course Dad's a trooper. No problem, he's got 2 snow blowers, heavy load, light load, and he was bombing around Buffalo yesterday, I guess, getting groceries. But you get used to it, but it's still, this was pretty horrendous, and it's just so sad to hear about some of the fatalities from that whole situation. So our hearts go out to all of you. You might say, well, this doesn't get shown in Buffalo, but it goes on YouTube and it's shared throughout the world. So we do want to let you know that we're thinking about you. I know that a lot of the local contractors are heading up there. My youngest son, Justin, works for a company called Safford Excavating and Heavy Equipment, and I believe they're on their way right now. Their whole, I don't know, 10 of them, and they're taking dump trucks and front loaders and all kinds of heavy equipment, and they're going to go help the folks up in the Hamburg area to dig out. You know, we shovel a couple feet of snow. We think it's a big deal. I can't even imagine what in the world do you do with 8 feet of snow. That's just, I can't comprehend that, and so on. But it'll be done, and of course the weather is going to warm up. And last week I said I have 5 sets of clothes to have my winter clothes. Monday I'll be wearing my Hawaiian shirt and flip-flops again. I don't know. It's just crazy. It's sort of like having the January thaw in November. But you know, if you are having problems with water and things like that, call your 911. Get people over there. Don't mess with the water, electricity. If you have your sub pumps flood and things like that, just be safe and look out for each other. Okay, I always like to remind you that this is a live call-in show, and that we do encourage you from the hours of 9 to 10 every Saturday morning to call us. If you have an anniversary you want to share, a birthday, a special event, an organization event, anything that you think is worthy of sharing with the community, this is what it's all about. This show is dedicated to tying our county together, and we're rebroadcast twice every day here out of Mayville, and then we share the show over in Jamestown in the Dunkirk-Fredonia area, so you can catch us again throughout the week. If you have a comment just on any old thing, keep it civil, keep it clean, and we'll be happy to talk with you. Throughout the show, our guests will take calls as well, and try to stay on topic, but if you drift off, I'll be happy to pull you right back where we need to be. So anyways, it is a live show, and we do encourage you to call. And today is November 22nd. Is that right? I never know what day it is, 22nd. So anyways, my guest is saying yes. One day I had us in March. Don't ask me how I got to March. Okay, we do have a few things that we want to share with you. And let's start out with this month that we are talking about the veterans, and we're going to do one more week. There's 5 Saturdays in November. I didn't realize that, so we're going to continue this right straight through. Defenders of Freedom program. Greg Patterson was on the show a while back, and he's looking for any World War II vets that want to tell their story. We're going to talk about yours later. But they actually videotape you down at the Robert Jackson Center in Jamestown, or they'll come out to your home or your family's place or library or wherever, I guess. They're trying to capture all the stories of World War II, and we have been finding, at least in my world, that a lot of veterans need to tell their story. They need to tell about the horrors, they need to tell about the funniest things, they need to tell you about everyday life. They need to share it because it's been bottled up for a long time. And also, we all want to know what really did happen in these circumstances. So if you know a World War II veteran, they're starting with World War II, and they tell me eventually they're going to get to Korea and Vietnam and so forth. But we want to grab those stories, and I accompanied my father-in-law a few weeks ago. We had a great time. He had a ball. He got to share a lot of funny stories and some tragic stories, but he's awaiting the final cut of the show, because they actually superimpose video behind the veteran, and if they're referencing something in Europe, they'll have some scenes from Europe. They're talking about the Pacific theater. They'll have ships and so forth. So we haven't seen the final copy of that yet. It's probably sitting in Buffalo because nobody's gotten mail for the last 4 days. But anyways, if you know somebody that's involved with that, call Defenders of Freedom at that number. Also, you might say, well, they're getting up there in age, and maybe they are forgetful or whatever. That's okay. You as a caregiver or a child or a grandchild, you can accompany them and help them along with their story. So something to think about. Okay. Also, We have something called Christmas in the Village, and we got a slide on that as well. And this is coming up this weekend, right now as we speak. So we're not going to talk about this again next week. But Saturday, you got a bunch of things going on, and there's all your events over at Easton Hall. You got tea at 1 o'clock, it looks like, over at the YWCA. Katie Smith and the gang over there. And then there's, what does that say? Children's Holiday something. Okay, at, Chamber Holiday Mixer. How did I get children? Probably if I wore my glasses. And then tomorrow they're going to have the Hall of Christmas. It's like 12 feet away from me, folks. You can see it better than I can. Well, anyways, in Westfield, Christmas in the Village this weekend, so check it out. Get out there. The weather's going to be nice and kind of get into the spirit of the holidays. And Jeff, thank you for giving me the insight on what's going on there. Okay, one more time, we're going to announce this next item. This is for you ladies or guys, but Westfield Memorial Hospital just got a new ultrasound machine, and this thing is like really, really cool. And they have actually extended the hours of the operation over there for this piece of equipment. It's really cool. It's in 4D. I can't explain 4D. All I know is we looked at an example of a carotid artery. It's that thing in your neck, and it was showing right inside of it, and it moving and three-dimensional and all kinds of things. And so if you know that you need this sort of service, they're happy to let you know that it's there and available. Westfield Memorial Hospital has awesome services, and it's here to serve the community in so many different ways. Okay, here's a new announcement that just came through this week from the Grape Discovery Center down the road over in Westfield. If you haven't been there yet, it's a great, great facility. I know there's a slide for this, and there it comes. They are having something called Christmas in the Vineyards. That's pretty cool. On December 13th, they're going to have live music, and the proceeds, they're going to have a special sale on a bunch of things there. If you want grape socks, if you want grape apron, glasses, whatever, anything with a grape motif, you can buy those things for Christmas and so forth. They're having a special sale, and of course the proceeds are there to support the Grape Discovery Center. If you haven't been there, it's open throughout the week, I believe Wednesday through Sunday. And there's a brand new manager there who's thinking about coming on the show in the near future. Her name is Christina McCain, and we're happy to share this information with you. And see how easy that is? If you have information, you can either text us, or you can write to us, or call in. We'll be happy to announce it. If you have a great poster or whatever, or the information, we'll be happy to help you out with that. Okay, Grape Discovery Center is supporting the local economy as far as the grape industry and making juice and wines and all kinds of things. So this is huge. If you haven't been there, it's so cool in there. The kids would love it. Lots of touchy-feely things. There's a good history of the area and so forth. Okay, at this point, I'm going to take a break, give you all a break. You're watching Chautauqua Sunrise. I'm Doc Hamels. We're going to take a public service announcement right now. We'll be right back, and I'm going to introduce you to my guest. Stay tuned.
I remember the moment.
I'll never forget that moment.
That changed my life.
At that moment, it hit me. This is why I joined the Guard. We're soldiers, always ready to protect our country. But we've also got communities. Family, friends, neighbors who count on us. I couldn't believe it. I just saved a life to somebody from my hometown.
See what it means to be a citizen soldier at NationalGuard.com.
Okay, and welcome back. And again, thanks to all of our men and women that are in the armed forces that are taking care of things. The National Guard is being called out to help out and so forth in all these tragic situations, especially weather related. All right, let's get to the heart of the matter here. Today we're going to be talking about cool things. When I was growing up in the city of Buffalo, like I was telling you, there was a library just around the corner from where I lived. We lived on Greenfield Street, and this particular library was on Fairfield, off of Amherst, if anybody's been up in that area. And it was a quaint little library, and the librarian there that worked all the time looks like this. We have a picture of her, and they'll pop it up. There she is. Yep. She was always after us to be quiet and to stop talking to the girls and do our homework or get focused. Well, eventually we learned the rules and so forth, but that library was like almost a second home to me. I read, I think, every book that you could about famous American heroes, you know, presidents and different guys that were like Paul Bunyan, legendary Americans, and whether they really existed, I don't know, but I just love the books. We did our homework there. We did assignments on world history and all kinds of things. And it was a creaky old building, and we would snuggle up next to the steam heaters and read and just do a lot of fun things there. Today's libraries are somewhat different, and I've got a special guest who's the brand new director at the Patterson Library in Westfield. I want to welcome Erin Hauenstein. Did I get that right?
Hauenstein.
Hauenstein. Oh, Stein. Okay, well, Erin, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I still had your other name in my mind. You're recently married.
Yes.
You still have that kind of bride glow. How long ago did you get married?
October 4th, so we're just into our first month, inching our way.
How's it
to the
going? So
second.
far, so good?
So far, so good. I mean, if you make it through the first month, then you should
There you
be
go
good
then.
forever, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I've been married 33 years, and it's still going good. So
Excellent.
Good for you. So you're the director of the library, and I told you we were going to talk a little bit about, you know, how did you come to Westfield and where you're from, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, I'm actually a New York native. I'm from the other side of New York, Malone, New York. So I don't know if you know where that is, but if you've ever heard of Lake Placid, which most people have.
Oh, way up.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm about an hour north of Lake Placid, about 5 minutes south of Canada. So
you speak French?
no. I like to pretend I can,
Okay.
but no, never really learned French because I didn't want to be anywhere near my hometown or anywhere near Canada. I wanted to be someplace else. You know, I didn't like small towns when
Everybody
I was
wants
growing
that
up.
way.
Right.
You know?
So I got a degree in music education, and I worked in the library when I was getting that for SUNY Potsdam at the Crane School of Music. And I decided when I was done that I didn't want to be a teacher. It just didn't feel right, you know, to me. It wasn't like the right career path, but I was always happy when I was working in the library. You know, if I was mending a score with like a needle and some thread, it was just fun. It was fun to be there. It's kind of like you're in the know, you know. Everybody kind of converges in the library, and it's kind of the center for knowledge and a little school gossip. So it was always fun there. So when I was...
What's happening? Yeah.
That's right.
It's a good place to find guys and, you know, dating and all that stuff.
Yeah, that was okay.
If you like people that hang out the library. I don't know. Wait, but back up for a second. You said music major. What was your instrument?
I played the trombone.
You're a trombonist.
Yeah, well, I shouldn't say I play anymore. It's been a few years since I picked it up, you know. Once I switched over to libraries, I picked up more books than
you gotta
trombone,
keep it up.
but yeah.
I'm sure your husband would love to hear it on a regular basis.
I'm sure. Who wouldn't? But that was fun. It was a fun time in life, and it's just a cool skill to have.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of neat to say, you know, like, well, how did your path get here? Well, I started out with trombone, and I ended up in books.
The
You know?
library.
So,
Yeah.
What
All right. So you got your degree in music, but how did you become a librarian? I
Yeah.
mean, you gotta like have a background in it, don't you?
You
Or
have
just
to.
walk in and say, I want to be a librarian. You fill out an application. They hire you? No.
Oh yeah, it's just that easy. No, you actually have to get a master's degree to be a librarian, a professional librarian. And so I thought, well, where can I go that, you know, won't be in a small town, that will kind of take me, you know, out of New York? And so I thought University of Pittsburgh seemed like a cool city that I could go to. Not too big, I wouldn't get lost. I was going there by myself, and I loved it. It was a great place to end up. And actually, while I was there, I had the pleasure of working in a TV studio radio station.
Oh, so this is old hat
So
for you.
this is just fine. Yeah, I worked at WQED.
QED. Were they like cooler than us, or they were not as cool?
Absolutely not, unless they're listening, in which case they're totally cool, you know. So you just gotta play both sides there.
They know where you live.
That's right. And actually, they come up to Chautauqua, the institution, every year, and they do live broadcasts
nice.
for the orchestra. So, you know, we're all kind of connected, which is great.
Yeah.
Once I got my library degree, I made a trip to Florida. I lived there, worked in libraries for 3 years in Manatee County.
Oh, all right, whoa. You got a degree in library what? Science?
Library and Information
I've heard.
Science.
It's information. So LIS.
MLIS.
MLIS, a Masters of Library Information and Science. So what what do you do? I mean, I'm not being facetious now. I mean, what in the world do you study? There's a book, you put it on the shelf, the book comes off, you give it to somebody, you sign it up. I mean, obviously it's a whole lot more than just doing that, but what do you study?
And to be honest, that's maybe not what we studied at all. That's kind of just something that comes once you're doing the job.
The
but
system.
What we learn are kind of the tips and tricks, the best techniques to getting to the information that someone needs as quickly as possible, and the relevant pieces of, whatever happens to be, if it's websites or if they're using actual books, what are the right sources?
So you're like a referent.
I'm a retriever.
You're a retriever of information.
That's right. That's kind of the reference aspect.
Okay.
And then you also learn about cataloging. How do you make all of this information discoverable to your patrons or your constituents that are going to come to the library and use your catalog to find it for themselves? I mean, somehow those books need to be available. So you learn how to catalog them through mark records, and that's kind of where I started. I loved that. It was actually more fun kind of doing the behind the scenes work, collecting the items, cataloging them, getting them out there for people to use. So you learn a lot about that, and then you learn your specialties. You learn about what it means to manage a library. You learn about what special libraries do. You learn about services for children. And then you take it all and you wrap it up in a nice package, and you're brilliant. And you just know how to do the whole thing.
You were saying cataloging. Now, I'm sure things are different, but do you still use the old pull out the drawer and there's a little card there, and you go like one of these numbers, and you get to the thing that you think is your book, and it's not there because somebody never returned a book, or it's been destroyed or whatever. So how do you do it now?
I always say that if I was a librarian when we were still using card catalogs and typing things out on a typewriter, that I never would have been able to do it. I mean, it's still the same concept, but now we have these things. They're called ILS. It's an integrated library system. There's a back end to that where you can just do it all on the computer. There's a template for the mark record, which you put in the title, the author, subjects, notes about the item, and then it all kind of compiles in one nice kept place, and it's easy for people to search by keyword and author and subject, and hopefully they can find what they need, or at least narrow it down, and then they can come to us librarians for extra help.
So if you took 100% of what the library does, how much of it would you say is retrieving information for people? So far. Best guess.
Well, I would say that times are changing a little bit. There's computers now, there's Google. Everyone loves Google and Wikipedia. And so maybe we don't retrieve as much as we used to, because people think, I don't need to go to the library to do that. Now I can just type it into Google and find it. But what they don't realize is that when they do that, they're getting 5,000 different answers. But if they come to us, they'll get the right answer, one right answer, So we don't do it as much, but I wish that we were doing it more. But what we do is help them sift through when they realize what they found, maybe isn't exactly what they need, and they're just getting lost looking for it. And then we do a lot of help, with our databases, like understanding how to do the searches in them, like how to use the databases, how to find an ebook and download it to your Kindle. Those things where you're kind of becoming more self-sufficient, but you still need help. It's like to get to self-sufficiency. So. Okay,
so going back, you studied, you learned techniques, you learned the more modern ways of cataloging and retrieving information, how to help people. And you're right, when you go on Google, you'll put in whatever, and there was a time that, I don't know, let's say we put in something like broadcast, like TV broadcasting, maybe 100 passages would come up, and you could sift through those, like you said. And now you put a word in like TV broadcast, there's like 5 million or 50 million or and that was the frustration for me as the Google opened up more and more, is now I had to learn some techniques, and maybe you can share one of those techniques, and I won't give it away, but what would be something, since we're on the topic, that when people walk through the door, they say, they pick a topic. Let's come up with something more relevant to Chautauqua County. Let's say they want to learn about the grape industry. Okay, so they want to learn about, a kid comes in and wants to do a paper on grape industry, and so they put in grapes and 50 million excerpts come up. How do you help them hone that down instead of trying to read 50 million passages?
Yeah, well, you can kind of do like Boolean searching. So you're searching for grapes.
Boolean is like what you put in soup?
Boolean.
What are you talking about?
Boolean is like when you search using words like and, or, not including. So it's like maybe we're going to search for grapes and we're going to search for Westfield, New York.
Okay.
So those two things together are going to make less articles come up or with whatever database we're searching.
Defining it. You're restricting words.
Yeah.
Use that word again, Boolean?
Boolean.
Boolean.
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
I
Do you
think
know?
it's B-O-O-L-E-A-N.
Oh, Boolean.
Yeah,
Not
Boolean.
Boolean. All right, so it's adding words to trim it down. So maybe from 5 million now you're down to 200,000, and then you just keep adding. Maybe you would say pruning or whatever.
Exactly. You want to really think about what exactly it is you're looking for. Try to be specific, and then maybe you make a list of words that are related to that topic, and then you go through and you search using all those different variations of words until you find what you want. And the nice part about, librarians is that that's kind of how we're always thinking, and that's maybe not natural for everyone, but, I'm always thinking, okay, how else can I search this? How else can I make this, come about? And so we can, help you to do it more quickly than maybe if you don't have 5 hours at home to sit there searching about grapes. Although, and being in Patterson, we might actually have a lot of historical information in our archives, which is, just something that we would know by virtue of being there.
Okay.
So that's nice.
When I did my PhD, I remember, yes, I was going beyond the car catalog with the drawers. I was actually online doing stuff. But the book that I wanted was like in Indiana, or the book was in Massachusetts. And they said, oh, we can get you that book. How does that work? And is there a cost involved? Or?
That's interlibrary loan, and that was my first love when I got my first job. That's what I did.
I can see why. It's really exciting.
It makes you wanting an item. It makes any item available for the most part to you. It's like your library just went global. Now you can get items from anywhere, and that's the coolest part about interlibrary loan. There's nothing better than making someone's day than when you say, I can get that book for you. It might take a couple weeks, and if there's a snowstorm in Buffalo, it might take a little longer. But, absolutely. And sometimes there's a cost, sometimes there isn't. I think CCLS, which is the library system here for Chautauqua, and I always pronounce this wrong, Cattaraugus. Is that right?
No, Cattaraugus.
Cattaraugus. That's what I always do. But
Hauenstein.
I believe for interlibrary loans here, there's a $2 charge.
Okay.
And then sometimes other libraries, like if you're getting something historic or something that is rare, they might also charge a fee on top of that. But if it's something you really need for research, then generally people are willing to pay for it because it's definitely less expensive than having to take a trip to Indiana or wherever just to go look at the item. So
that's incredible. And, and that was one of the points that I think that people don't realize is that they say, well, my library is this little corner library and it's limited. It's not limited. If you're part of the Chautauqua, they're all part of the system, that they can go online and they can get books from anywhere in the country. Is it international or just in the United States?
I think it kind of depends on where you are. I think that CCLS is maybe just New York State, or if not New York State, then it's national.
Open up further in.
Yeah, but it never hurts to even just, if there's something you want and it is international, I mean, sometimes I could just reach out to another library and say, hey, we noticed that, and especially now that people are able to scan things in PDF, and I mean, technology's really helped this. If there's something scanned, they might just say, oh, we've got this that we could just send to you in an email, no charge, here you go, please help your patron, because librarians everywhere, all we want to do is help you find what you need. That's what we like to do. We want to help you get the information you need. So everyone's usually willing to work together to make that happen.
Our head engineer, Jeff Zook, who's on the other side of the wall that you can't see, just asked me, he got a library card when he was 5 years old, and is it still any good?
It might not be because things have just changed over time, where if you hadn't used it in a while and we changed to a new integrated library system or something like that, then maybe they just let it go. But it doesn't mean he couldn't go back and get another one today.
So you do give out library cards?
Absolutely.
Oh, I thought you just like showed your driver's license, or of course if you're a little kid you'd have to get something.
Right. Yeah. And
is it digital? I mean, do you scan it, or do you? How does this work?
The library card's got a barcode on the back of it, and we've got all that information in that ILS. So your information is there. We won't share it with anybody, we promise. There's lots of confidentiality. Well, I think it'd be hard to hack our system here because
that's what Target said.
Oh yeah. Well, luckily there isn't any, there's no credit card information in there, so.
Oh, geez. Okay, so you do still use the library cards. How long can you take out a book for now, or whatever, from the library?
It depends on what it is. New books usually is 2 weeks. Books that aren't new, it's 3 weeks. If it's a DVD, it's usually 1 week. So there are different time frames, but we always tell you, we print it out on a little barcode receipt so you can see it. And if you get to the end of 2 weeks and you're like, hey, I haven't had time to read, you can call us. If no one's waiting for it, we can renew it for you so you can have it for longer. Again, we want to work with everyone. We want people to know that all of our materials are for everyone to use, and that we want you to be able to enjoy the information, use the information for research, use it for learning, use it for fun. So we want to make sure that whatever we can do to make that happen, we'll do.
Cool.
Yeah.
What are fines up to now?
Oh boy, they're steep. I think we're at like 10 cents a day, maybe. Yeah.
I think I was paying 2 cents a day. It was like my mother goes, "Your book is overdue. It's coming out of your allowance." I go, "That's 8 cents." I was, and I always, of course, you saw that librarian's picture, and you had to somehow figure out how I was going to get that library book back to the library with carefully giving her the money without the look, But
well, and we're always, there are different programs that happen. Like sometimes there's fine amnesty programs going on. So
fine amnesty.
That's right. So
what do you get a presidential pardon if your book is over a year old or something?
Yeah. If you're a teen, sometimes we do teens. They can read off their fines. If you read a couple of books, we'll take your fines away.
Oh my gosh! I've never heard of such a thing.
Oh, we did it at one of my other libraries.
Now they come up with them. I could have read my way out of trouble. Okay, let's take a little breather here. You are watching Chautauqua Sunrise. I'm Doc Hamels, and my guest is, let me get this right this time, Erin Hauenstein. Get that right?
You did good.
Stein. I got to remember it's like the beer Stein. And we're talking about the Patterson Library and library stuff in general. Okay, now I'm going to digress for a minute. One of my favorite things is still reading. I love to read. And when I retired from being a school superintendent, I decided, well, what the heck am I going to do with my time? Well, I'm kind of a hyper guy anyway, so I needed to fill in a little bit of chunks of time. So I decided I like to read, so I should read. So what would I read? So I decided I was going to go back and I was going to go to a bookstore and I was going to go and find all the books that either were of great interest to me or that they were the great American classics that I didn't read at the time and I thought they were taking too much of my time and that I never read the whole thing. I just read the abridged version. So I couldn't find it this morning, but this is going to kill you. But the first book I grabbed, we'll get to the phone call in a minute. The first book I grabbed was Moby Dick. 652 pages later, I could tell you everything about a whaling ship. Now I know why I read the short version of the book. It's like, holy mackerel. But I'll get back to that. This is more important. Good morning, caller, and welcome to the show.
Yes, I was wondering, is there, sometimes there's magazines and stuff. I know libraries tend to get, but there's magazines and stuff that are, and newspapers that are coming out that are digital only now. Is there ways to access those through the library, or do you have to get a subscription now?
That's a good question.
Yeah, actually, it's really great. CCLS as a whole, we've all subscribed to Zinio, which is virtual magazines. I don't believe there are newspapers on there, but there are sometimes other ways to get digital copies of newspapers, but magazines especially, and we're talking, popular magazines. It's got Women's Health in there, Popular Science, Popular Mechanics. If you have a library card in CCLS, all you need to do is go to your local library's website, they will probably have some kind of icon for Zinio, and then you type in your library barcode, and you should all have a PIN number. If you don't have your PIN number, call your local library. They can help you out with that. And you just kind of make yourself a profile. Usually it's a username, some kind of password, and you can check out materials, check out these magazines online. You can keep them as long as you want. There's no overdue fees. That's the lovely thing about, you know, any kind of digital magazine, even ebooks. There's usually no fees.
Okay.
And it usually has on there like the issues that are the most recent, and then like maybe a couple months back. And then, you know, the pages are in color. It looks just like if you were reading the magazine in front of you, but then you don't have to like take out all those little flyaways that always fall on the ground. You're reading magazines and throw them away. It's perfect. So, yeah, we do have that ability.
Okay. I hope that answers your question, caller. A lot of times I'll hang up, they ask a question, and I'll just wait for the answer. Okay, well, I'm learning something new every day. All right, so anyways, so Moby Dick, that took me like forever. It was like, I kept putting the book down, going like, this is, you know, it was 6 feet wide, 3 inches long, made out of oak wood, and the rope was, it was going on, and I go, get to the big whale. It was like the last 2 chapters of the whale, everything else was in between. And then I got through that. Then I thought, well, what else could I go? So I go to used bookstores, because I like to keep the book, and The Last of the Mohegans. I mean, and, you know, things like The House of Seven Gables, you know, Nathaniel Hawthorne. These are books like, I said, well, I've always heard of these, but I really don't know the story behind them. And then I like to get on my dark side with Dean Koontz.
Oh, Dean Koontz.
But probably still one of my favorites, besides Harry Potter. I couldn't find Harry Potter. But for Christmas, I think it was last year, my wife got me The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
Wow.
Yeah, look at that. He's got the gold edging on there. But I got to tell you something. The saddest day of the last year was when I got to the last page, because I just wanted to read more. Now, a reason why I bring it up is my wife has a Kindle, and she loves her Kindle, and I know a lot of people have Kindles or Nooks or whatever they're called, but I still like to have, you know, a book where you put a marker in there. I like to curl. Of course, this is too big. I don't understand that. But some of these other smaller ones, I like to, on a nice winter day, and this is the perfect time of the year, so this is a good topic, you know, pull up that book near the fireplace, or just grab a blanket and the dog and nobody around and just drift off. My mom always said, you know, she says, in a rocking chair and a book, you can go anywhere in the world. And I always remember that. So I'm trying to think what I'm reading right now. Something about Ireland.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's good.
It's one of the Clancy brothers wrote a book. Okay, let's get back to the topic of books and electronics now. So, are people taking out books?
People are taking out books.
Okay.
I think it's kind of a myth that, you know, no one's coming to libraries and no one's using our resources, no one's checking out our books because they all have Kindles. I mean, and people are checking out items on Kindles, don't get me wrong, but there are lots of people in the world like you, and actually I think they just did a study. I think
like me?
That like to have a tactile book. I think Pew Research just did a study about how people actually prefer, and students actually learn better from books, tactile books, not, you know, anything virtual.
Do you dog ear your books, or do you use markers?
I use markers. I like them all to be, and I actually prefer to read a book as well. I can't stand the glow. Like if I'm looking at the computer all day long, it's like the last thing I want to do when I get home is look at the glow of my book. So I always prefer to do what you do, you know, curl up, I've got the dog, you know, he's on top of the blanket, keeping me extra warm, and then just get lost in it.
You know, there was a time, and I haven't done this in a while, but maybe I'll get to it again this winter, but I had like 4 books going at the same time, different rooms, you know?
Yeah.
And because I would get, you know, Dean Koontz was too scary, so I'll get back to him when the lights are on, or I'll, you know, go to whatever, Last of the Mohegans. But, yeah, I'm sort of, sometimes I get into a mood where I do a lot of reading. I was just thinking about that today when I was getting ready for the show. I thought, I gotta get another good book. But you know what? I know this seems hard to believe coming from me, but I've read the Harry Potter series twice, and I'm ready to do a third time from one end to the other. I love Harry Potter.
That's nice.
And you may say, well, that's a kid's book. No, it's not. It is very well written, just like Sherlock Holmes. These people have the ability to take a fictitious set of characters and make them absolutely come alive. And Sherlock Holmes is on different series on TV now. You got Elementary, you got Sherlock, which is on the BBC, I think, now, and there's a couple other different series. What do you got?
The movies.
The movies now. It's just like, I can't get enough of them, and I guess I'm a little bit like Holmes at times. It's kind of weird. But anyways, You got some events coming up I thought maybe we would touch on a little bit. And so, Jeff, if you're ready, let's bring up the Christmas Carol that we talked about last week. That's coming up in a couple of weeks, I think, isn't it?
It's coming up next week, next
here we go.
Saturday.
Tell us all about it.
I'm excited about this one.
All right.
This man, Kim Tenrero, and apologies, Kim Tenrero, if I pronounced your last name wrong, he does this one-man adaptation of A Christmas Carol. He does all the characters. He's got the thing memorized. I guess he's done this all over the country. Like a few months ago, I remember...
does all the ghosts?
He does everything. He does the whole thing. And, you know, he's done it in Alaska, and he's going to come and do this show for us. It's going to be a library fundraiser. It's $5 at the door, but I like to say it's a $5 donation because what that money is going to do is just get rolled around into programming at the Patterson for 2015. So it's like you're putting it in and getting it back. And so I'm just thrilled. It's going to be Saturday, November 29th.
See, now you're doing what I do. See, everybody laughs at me when I skip months. It happens, you know.
Well, I'm in the Christmas spirit with it.
There you go.
Yeah, November 29th from 4 to 6.
It's a 2-hour thingy.
2-hour thing. There's going to be a delicious hot chocolate, and we'll have some other goodies if I get my wits about me and I'm out of my turkey coma, can do the baking. So.
Is this for all ages?
It's for all ages, and you know, the library, the Patterson, I've only been there not even 3 months, but I just know it's going to look beautiful when we decorate it for Christmas. It's just this enchanting place, so I think this is going to be a great way to kick off kind of the Christmas season and the holiday season at the library.
You know, we really haven't talked about Patterson Library yet, and Linda Dunn's probably watching this going, talk about the library! or Sandy Brown, or all the Tom Burkhouse, who are on your board of directors. They're all folks that I know, and some of them are Rotarians with me. Some people live in different part of the county, maybe have never been to the Patterson Library. To me, it's one of the most beautiful buildings I've ever been in, especially for this type of thing, for learning and finding out information. How would you just pretend you're on the Mysteries of the Museum, and you have to describe the building?
It's magnificently beautiful. I'm kind of like that. I mean, just getting the job, I couldn't believe that I was going to get to work in this beautiful marble columned, old carvings.
How many columns are there?
Oh my God!
I looked
outside?
it up. There's 8 columns. That's what it said on the internet there.
I believe that. I believe that.
So we got these great columns.
Oh, and it's just this beautiful rotunda, the mezzanine. So you know, you've got books on both floors, and when you come in, it's this open space, and you can kind of see bird's eye view into the 2 reading rooms with the beautiful fireplaces and the woodwork, and then you'll look up and you'll see like the beautiful plaster casting. It's
folks, she's not too interested. She's not too excited about working at this library. Can you tell?
I can't believe that this is like a dream job. Just coming to the building every day. It is, and just to think. I mean, like the history of it's so lovely to think that, you know, Hannah Whiting Patterson thought this town needs a library. There needs to be a safe place that people can come and learn and grow.
The 1890s.
Yeah. She
bequeathed it.
She bequeathed it on behalf of her parents. And by the way, if you ever want to see what they look like, we've got all of their portraits hanging in our reading room.
Okay.
And you know, she wants to do this in memorial for her parents. And then when she passes, she, you know, actually they're both juniors, which I think is great. She's Hannah Jr. and then George Jr. takes over and makes this happen, but he has the foresight to go, I want to build a building that is proper, so I'm going to put some money into an endowment, and then I'm going to invest. And you know, for now, we're going to house the library, actually where the YWCA is now. And you know, they did that for 10 years. And then when he passed, his son-in-law, Crandall, it was his last name, I can't remember his first name, but I think Frank Crandall said, all right, now's the time. We built this beautiful building for $90,000, which totally blows my mind.
Right, but that was big money in those days,
yeah. And now, you know, the legacy's continued thanks to this family, and thank goodness, you know, because now we have a small endowment that we can take from every year, so we're not burdening the taxpayers as much, and we can make programs happen, and everyone can enjoy this space. I mean, this space is for everyone. You know, you don't have to be special to come to the library. It is a living museum that everyone can enjoy. In Chautauqua County, in New York State, in Ireland, whoever wants to come here. And we actually had a guy that he was cycling from the West Coast to the East Coast this summer. He's from South Africa, and he made a stop into the library. I mean, he was blown away. So it's lovely.
If you haven't been to this library, folks, this is a field trip in and to itself. I mean, you can probably be there for, well, depending on your interest, but you could spend half a day there. This summer, I took my granddaughter Kyla there. I don't think you were on board yet, and and her mouth just dropped. She's 9 years old. You go to one of the first little rooms, and it's 8-sided, right? And it just seems like there's all these little nooks and crannies and little sitting rooms, and there's birds that have been preserved, and her mouth just, there's a hummingbird, and there's this and that, and I go, look over here, and then there's seashells, and look over here, and there's more birds, and it's like going into like Sherlock Holmes days. It really is. It really comes from that same era, the turn of the century. And I was reading that they actually opened it in 1908, I think I read, and it's got this domed ceiling that you look up and it's all open and it's bright natural light coming in, and as you said, there's this mezzanine, and you go, the books are on shelves, but then there's animals on top of the shelves, and she goes, look, there's a penguin, there's a turtle, there's whatever. But that's just the original part of the library. Then tell me other parts of it.
Yeah, that's the original part, and yeah, some of those animals are amazing, but there's a couple up there that are kind of scary to me, but that's just beside the point. And yeah, then they built this addition on because, at some point we needed to make it ADA compliant there, so we had to put in a wheelchair lift, the elevator, and all of that stuff. And so you can now walk down the stairs where we've hung our World War I poster collection, which is lovely and the biggest collection aside from the Smithsonian. So that's just something in itself, again, to come and see. You go down the stairs, and then you get to the original part of the library again, but now it's downstairs, and you get to our Octagon Art Gallery, which, how many libraries have an art gallery? That's awesome. And we have shows running, pretty much once a month there's a new opening. We just had an opening last night. David Carell, who's, he's done so much for the library, so it's amazing that we can have his photography there. And his show will run, I think, until January 2nd.
Awesome.
And, it's since I've been there, we've had 2 photography shows, 1 textile show, and it's just such a cool place to visit. And then beyond that, we've got our children's area. There's a teen area, there's a children's area. We've got a section called Patterson Park, where story times happen, and kids love it down there. I don't blame them. If I didn't have to work, I'd go hang out down there too.
I hung out there with Kyla. We were having a ball.
There's so many fun things to play with and to just learn and discover. Like I like the Lego station in the back.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
To me, you've kept the best of the best there of the original flavor, and then they've allowed modernization to come in and what's cool for kids and what's cool for young adults and everything else. I just got a question asked to me, the difference between archives and libraries.
Oh, that's kind of an interesting question.
We have an interesting set of viewers here.
I like that, yeah. So archive, it's like a specific kind of collection, right? Usually lots of first-person material, newspapers, photographs, maybe letters, things that are old and are fragile. And I guess we call them archives because they're things that we're trying to preserve through the generations, where maybe in your general collection in the library, you have to do some weeding. There's going to be material that, people stop reading, so then it's time to move on. And that's always sad, and you always kind of say a little prayer for your books, because as a librarian, you never want to get rid of anything. But would
you tell my wife that? That's very important, never to throw anything away. I'm not a hoarder, but I don't like to throw things away.
But the archives are things you're actually trying to preserve through the ages. So it's a special collection of materials that, it's meaningful to your library, it's meaningful to the town, it's meaningful to the history of where you're from.
So genealogy?
Yeah, things like that. We have a lot of microfilm newspapers, yearbooks, land papers, taxes, wills, deeds. We've got the letters of the Pattersons and I think the Easons as well. So that's what, and even like our World War I posters, that's part of our archive collection, because
I've seen them,
we're diligently trying to make sure that those don't, get brittle and
There's a room on the second and a half floor. There's like a half floor, if I remember. Is that where the archives are, up in that room?
Yeah, so if you're on the mezzanine, there's actually 2 two rooms. There's one to the right, one to the left,
Okay.
and it houses our archives. And one is kind of what I consider like the people aspect. It's got more of like the yearbooks and things, and the other is kind of about the land and the history of the land.
Oh.
So.
And can anyone access that, or how's that work?
Yeah, you can access it. Usually for those rooms, we try to keep them locked, so we don't just have anyone going in there and pulling
Grabbing
things
those
out.
papers, they break.
Yeah, because there's definitely a method. You have to be very careful and make sure your hands are clean. You're not a lot of oils are getting on the paper.
Oh, we got to put the gloves on.
You
and
can put the gloves
face
on. That's right.
masks, moon suits.
But if you ask any one of us, we're usually either willing to go up there, and if you know what you need, then we can just go grab it for you, or you can go up there and look around, and we're happy to help you get whatever you need. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Do all libraries have archives?
I don't want to say
Probably
that we
depends
have
on the
all them,
library,
but
yeah.
I would say most of them have some kind of archive, usually a local history archive at least, and then the bigger libraries obviously
sure,
have. Yeah.
sure. Okay, so again, it's a beautiful building, but you haven't described the outside of the building, because that's one of my favorite places.
Oh, the garden, Pergola Garden, is actually where they had a little welcoming gathering for me there, and it's perfect. I kind of wish we would have known about it before my husband and I got married, because that would have been a great place to have a wedding.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I have to say thank you. I believe it's the Garden Club in Westfield that they kind of help us maintain it, and
That's great.
my library volunteers, the Hands Group, they do a lot of work out there. There's this beautiful brickwork, and we've got beautiful tables that are like stone, and just a beautiful little garden
It's
area.
like going into like the secret garden.
It
isn't
is,
It
it is.
really, and I will bet people drive by that library all the time, and they don't realize if you go. I think it's
Around
on
the
the
back.
back side
Yep.
of it. Is there still the Greek theater there? There used to be rows of seats that people would have little presentations.
Oh, I don't think that's there anymore.
Okay, I don't quote me, but someone once told me that there was, and I looked down in there one day, not too long ago, and it looked like maybe it's like behind the garden, down on that little slope, maybe, but maybe it's not there anymore.
I haven't ventured back there, to be honest with you.
Don't go today.
I didn't know. I haven't gone there. But and right now, obviously, you go into the garden and you're just going to walk through snow. But I can't wait for spring. I can't wait to see it this spring.
Lots of vines and things like that. We got a Twitter question here that came in. It says basically, and I'll embellish the question a little bit. As far as the library itself goes, how important is temperature and humidity? I mean, do you have to control all that, or it's just whatever it is, or?
Yeah, I mean, we control temperature and humidity, and in the main area, because it's such a big, lofty space, it's actually helpful. But in those two archive rooms especially, it's something that we're actively working on. We're monitoring the temperature for a year and then hoping to get some kind of a grant so we can get some temperature control, because the first thing that happens to archives, if they get any kind of wet or moldy, then they start
Or
to go.
too dry.
Or too dry,
Yeah, it's gotta be just right.
Either way. So we're actively working to help that, and everyone loves the downstairs in the library. Like the new addition, they're able to put like an air conditioning system there on the bottom floor. So in the summertime, people are always going down to the children's area. It can get a little warm up at the top, but it's hard with this building from 1908. They didn't actually have
anything like that.
ACs to put in. So.
Okay. Folks, you're watching Chautauqua Sunrise. I'm Doc Hamels, and my guest today is Erin Hauenstein, and she's the director of the Patterson Library. And we have just about 6.5 minutes left. If you want to give us a call or have a question for Erin or myself or an announcement, give us a call at 753-5225. Okay, we got a couple other things we got to mention that you said that was really exciting that's coming up at the library, and it's a fest.
The Grinch Fest.
The Grinch Fest. Let's bring that up. That's a great movie. I like to watch that every Christmas.
Yeah, Grinch Fest, and this will be my first Grinch Fest. I'm excited about it just because of the buzz and the hype. Grinch Fest is going to be Saturday, December 20th, from 1 to 4. We're going to show How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the PG Jim Carrey version movie, and we're also going to do the G. I think it's just like a half-an-hour cartoon. There'll be activities and crafts and games and maybe a little music.
How fun.
It is. It's going to be
great. Do you have
great.
somebody dressed up as the Grinch?
The Grinch might make an
It
appearance.
might. You heard it first here
That's
on
right.
Chautauqua Sunrise. The Grinch is heading his way as we speak. We have a phone call.
Okay.
Good morning, caller.
Well, good morning, Erin. Good morning, Dax. This is Linda Spalding. I know Erin, and I love your beautiful library.
Yay, thank you.
And I love having the computer classes there, the Generations Online.
Cool.
We love having them there too. Generations Online has been great for the library. It's a chance for senior citizens to come and really embrace technology. You know, sometimes it's harder when you're older. You know, technology changes around you, and you know your kids know how to use it, and they're like Skyping you, and they're doing all sorts of stuff, and you're like, wait a minute. And so now Generations Online is given the chance for folks to come work one-on-one with somebody in our library. We actually
it's
have
not so scary.
Yeah, we have a gentleman named Alan, and he'll come do the basic classes. You know, this is a computer, his websites, keyboards, email, and yeah, if anyone that you know would want to sign up for that, they can give the library a call. They can call the Office of the Aging.
Hang on, we got a thing for that, right, Linda?
Right.
we got a little thing that comes up here for Office of the Aging. Why don't you?
Right, the phone number for the Office for the Aging. We've trained over 1,000 people since we started with individualized training. But I don't want to hold you up. I know you're going to be going off soon. But I wanted to say how much I love holding a book myself. And I go to the library now for just about all of my reading because I have too many books. So if I go to the library, I know that I'm not going to accumulate it. I do buy books from time to time. I give them to friends, but it's much better to hold a book in your hands than it is a Kindle.
I agree.
That's my thought.
It's a gift.
Okay.
It's a little gift.
All right. Yeah. Well, Linda, thanks for calling in, and you have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
I wish you a wonderful Thanksgiving, too, and a wonderful weekend.
All right. You too. Enjoy.
Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Linda calls in quite often, lets us know what's going on. So you were a great advertisement for...
Yeah, I tried.
Okay, let's get to one more called a Veterans Book.
It's the Veterans Book Project. This is happening soon. It's going to happen on December 4th. I believe that's the Thursday. It's from 1 to 3. So Veterans Book Project is this national kind of, I guess you'd maybe want to call it like an art installment. So it's books and pictures and stories from folks who have been through or affected in some way by the current wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. And kind of like what you were saying with World War II, it's like a chance for these people to capture it and to maybe get it out if they've been holding it in, and to just, you know, share it. Yeah. And so all of these books have been created, and there's going to be someone coming to facilitate a program to kind of discuss it. I think it's veteransbookproject.org or veteransbookproject.com online that you could go to learn more information, but I'm really looking forward to that, just to learn more about, you know.
Is this going to all the libraries or just the Patterson?
It's been going to different places in the county.
Okay,
not
so it's not a secret.
All libraries.
Okay,
yeah. So this is, I think, one of the final programs that they're doing in the county. So we were really lucky that we could kind of grab it.
And this is perfect because we've been featuring veterans this month and really trying to think of different things that are pertinent to veterans and so forth. So that's great. Okay, well, we're kind of winding up here a little bit. We did get another question. Do you need volunteers? And if so, what do they do and how do they become a volunteer?
Oh, we would love to have more volunteers. We have a great group now, and I always want to grow it. And volunteers can do anything from working the circulation desk to shelving books. They could become part of our Helping Hands, which is a group that kind of does handyman work around the library because, you know, it's an old building and sometimes things need work. And so they could help with that. They could help in the garden outside in the summer. They could help with children's programming. They could help in the archives. I mean, if you want to do something, you can come in and do it. And we cherish our volunteers because we couldn't do this every day without them.
And so who should they contact?
They can contact me at the library. The number is 326-2154. They could send an email to pattersonwestfield@gmail.com. They can stop on in. They could see anyone at the circulation desk,
You're
and we
on
can get them a
Facebook?
volunteer.
I know that.
Oh yeah, we're on Facebook, Patterson Library. Make sure it's the one in Westfield. There's apparently another one that sometimes
Indiana
you click on.
or Utah. I looked that up one day.
Yeah, and you know, even as much as if they wanted to sign up for my newsletter, I send out a newsletter once a week. If they stop in and give me their email address, I can put them on that list, and oftentimes in that I'm calling out for volunteers, and even for our programs, if we're doing like a special event, we might need extra help, but yes, please, if you want to volunteer, we would love to have you.
Okay. Erin, it's been just a pleasure having you here on the show. It was recommended that we maybe talk about libraries, and I contacted you before you even were on the job. But we're winding up right now, so I do want to thank you for coming on the show. Folks, if you haven't been to the Patterson Library, you got to get over there sometime, and I bet it's going to be just gorgeous this time of year. So we're going to wrap things up. I wish you all a wonderful Thanksgiving. Get out there and spend some time with family. Don't eat too much, and we'll see you all again next week right here on Chautauqua Sunrise. I'm Doc Hamels. Take care.